I'm driving. And honestly, I don't recommend that anybody goes out and takes a video while they're driving. But I'm not holding the camera. It's sitting up. Just wanted to clarify that. But I had a dream last night, and I wanted to share it with the world because I feel like in the end it might be a little retrospective, and it's something I didn't realize until I kind of really tried to think hard on like what that dream could have meant. Anyway, the dream was I was giving my wife a kiss goodbye, and she was working in the office downstairs, and there was this leak, and it was just pouring out of the wall, and there was a construction worker there, and he was just sawing holes in the floor, not even measuring or anything, just pulling up a piece of the floor, pulling up a piece of the floor. And at first I was like, maybe he's checking for moisture damage or something, maybe he knows what he's doing. And then he starts cutting out the entire window seal, and he's just about to cut out the whole window. And so I go up and I tell him, I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, that's not, you haven't even stopped the water. It's still leaking. Like, maybe start there. And he's like, well, I got to assess for water damages. And so, of course, I unplug his saw. And then I go upstairs and I'm calling my boss because I'm telling her, like, look, I'm not going to be able to make it into work today. This guy is destroying my house, and I don't know what is going on, but I need to figure this out. And she seemed understanding, and while I'm standing in my room, I realized that my friends are there, two of my friends from my past, and they're sitting there and they're eating Doritos and candies, and they're playing video games on my TV, and I'm like, guys, I haven't seen you in a while, how you doing? And they're just kind of ignoring me. And I was like, well, in that case, why are you here? Why are you eating my food? Why are you playing video games on my TV? Like, you guys, I haven't even heard from you in a long time. So, the excitement kind of went away, and it became anger. And later on, I realized I was informed that those two friends were relatives or sons of the construction workers. And anyways, a few moments went by, and as I was trying to take care of them and get them out of my house, this like giant cargo train came, and it was crazy. It was almost like if you linked like 60, 70 like 30 or 40 go-karts together, like the screened in kind, and made like a train out of them. And it was full of people. And all these people were completely different. Like, there were some with hard hats, there were some with like tuxes and suits, some with just regular casual clothes. And it just started to wrap around the house. And it went and went and went. And then it almost completely circled the entire property. And I'm just watching through the window like, what is going on? And all these people, they just start coming out. And they immediately just go to the house, and they all just start taking care of something. Like they start taking the siding off of the house, and one of them's like got a wood planer, and he's cutting pieces of wood, and they're putting it up. And one of them's got windows, and they're putting the windows back in. And I'm just like, what is going on? It was a leak. It was a leak in the basement. Why are you redoing my entire house? So I go up. Actually, I called the police, and I said, I've got these people here, and I don't know where they came from. I didn't hire any of them, and they're renovating my entire home because I had a leak. And what am I supposed to do? And they're like, we don't handle these matters. And I'm like, what do you mean you're the police? And they're like, well, sir, we can't help you. So I go and I try to find the owners of the operation, try to figure out like who's doing this. Anyways, I find two guys who seem like they're in charge, and I start telling them, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? I just had a leak. I can't afford this. Assuming that it's going to cost me everything I have. I don't even have the money to take care of my bills right now. I'm struggling right now. I can't pay for you to renovate my entire home because I had a leak. And they just started laughing, and they're like, well, son, you're going to have to figure it out. And then that's when they told me that their kids were inside, and I found out that those were their kids. And I told them, I was like, well, they're very disrespectful, and they're not helping me at all. And they laughed, and they're like, haha, well, we're going to have to tell them about it. You said that. And I was like, well, I hope you do. And anyways, the dream went on, and I actually don't know what happened. I kind of woke up after that and had to process everything. I don't know what the end looked like. I don't know what my house looked like in the end. I don't know whether or not I even had a price to pay. And I really think that is the retrospective message. What's funny is, in this dream, the only people that didn't help me was the people that I was close to, was the people that I knew, was my friends. They were the ones sitting up there just eating chips and playing video games. And literally the entire town of people came out of nowhere and started rebuilding my entire home. And in a way, maybe that's kind of a message from God. That we don't, and I obviously assumed there was a price. There has to be a price. But maybe there's not. Maybe the price was paid by the realization that sometimes the people you give the most to give you nothing. And sometimes the people you give nothing to can give you the most. Maybe in a way, I didn't have to pay for that. Maybe it was just a renovation. Maybe they just saw that my life was in shambles because I've been giving everything to people who don't give me anything. And instead of focusing on myself and on my home and on my family and rebuilding and reshaping what I have and giving to those people who I just kind of see on a regular day basis, those regular Joes, and start giving to those people, start sharing something of value, maybe they can return that favor. And they can rebuild me and rebuild my home and rebuild my family. I think in this world we always assume there's a price. We always assume that it's going to cost us everything that we have. And to be honest, it will. It will. But it doesn't mean that you should only give everything you have to the people who you call your friends. You should give everything you have to everybody. You should share the gospel. You should share the love of Jesus Christ. You should share your compassion, your kindness, your energy. And, maybe one day those people are going to rebuild you. I really think that's what that dream was trying to tell me. I don't know. It was just a random dream. It's funny, I actually woke up in the dream and explained the dream to my wife before she woke me up, like 5 minutes later, and I had to re-explain the dream to her. And at that point, that dream was locked in. So somebody wanted me to remember that dream. And I think that's why. I have a bad habit of thinking I can fix people, thinking I can make people better, and just giving them everything I have. And it's never done me any good, because those people aren't my family. They're not my wife. They're not my kids. I mean, they are my family, but they're not, my wife or my kids, and they're not, I can't change them. It doesn't matter what you do for people. It doesn't matter. You make somebody comfortable, you give somebody a home, you give somebody some money, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can do it out of the kindness of your heart, and I suggest that you do, but don't do it on the prospect that you're going to make a difference, that you're going to change that person, because that change has to take place within. And when you realize that, and you invest everything you have in what you love, and you seek your passions, and you seek your purpose, then I truly believe that the world will come and form around you, and it will rebuild you. It will help you, because that's what God wants. God wants you to seek your purpose. God wants you to follow Him. and to lead people to Him. And if you do that, I promise, He will rebuild you. Something to think about.